What's good, soul family? Welcome back to Motown Groove, where we celebrate the music that moves us. You know, some songs don't just top the charts, they transform the entire landscape of music. They break down barriers, rewrite the rules, and leave fingerprints on every generation that follows. Today we're counting down 15 R&B and soul anthems that didn't just make noise, they made history. These are the tracks that proved black music was the blueprint, the foundation, the whole architecture of modern sound. From Motown's golden era to the birth of funk, from civil rights anthems to studio innovations that changed everything, we're diving deep. So grab your headphones, settle in, and let's take this journey together. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a beat, and let's get into it. 15. Boston, More Than a Feeling. Now, I know what you're thinking. Boston on a soul channel. Stay with me. When More Than a Feeling dropped in 1976, it did something revolutionary. Tom Scholz wasn't in some fancy studio. He was in his basement, layering guitars and vocals like a master painter, creating this massive, polished sound that nobody had heard before. But here's why it matters to our story. Scholz was using the same meticulous, layered production techniques that Motown had pioneered a decade earlier. That obsessive attention to detail, that pursuit of sonic perfection that came from Berry Gordy's playbook. This track proved that the studio itself could be an instrument.
And dream of a girl I used to know.
And that philosophy, that came straight from the soul music tradition of artists like Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder, who were turning recording sessions into sonic laboratories. 14. The Beatles, I Want to Hold Your Hand. The Beatles burst onto American shores in 1963, and everyone called it the British invasion. But let's keep it real about where that sound came from. John Lennon and Paul McCartney didn't hide their influences. They shouted them from the rooftops. Little Richard, Chuck Berry, the Shirelles, the Marvelettes, black artists created the template. Those tight vocal harmonies that defined I Want to Hold Your Hand, that came directly from doo-wop groups and Motown's vocal arranging. That infectious energy, it's such a feeling. That was rhythm and blues, plain and simple. This song sold over 1 million copies before it even officially dropped in the States. And while the Beatles deserve credit for their craft, we can't forget that they were students of a sound that Black America created. When you hear this track, you're hearing the echo of every black vocal group that came before. Repackaged, yes, but rooted in soul. 13. The Ronettes, Be My Baby. From the moment Hal Blaine's drums kick in, bam bam ba bam, you know you're in for something special. Phil Spector's wall of sound production on Be My Baby was legendary, but let's talk about the real star, Ronnie Spector. Her voice carried this perfect blend of vulnerability and strength, this yearning that cut straight through all that orchestration.
Never let you go.
At a time when women in pop music were expected to be demure and passive, Ronnie commanded that track. She didn't ask, she demanded to be somebody's baby. That confidence, that assertion of desire, that was revolutionary. And the production itself drew heavily from the lush arrangements that Motown was perfecting at the same time. Both were proving that R&B and soul could be sophisticated, cinematic, and massively popular. Brian Wilson called it the greatest recording ever made. High praise, but Ronnie Spector earned every word. 12. Bob Dylan, Like a Rolling Stone. July 1965. Bob Dylan drops Like a Rolling Stone, and radio stations lost their minds. 6 minutes long, nobody plays songs that long. But they had no choice. The people demanded it. Now Dylan gets credit for going electric and revolutionizing rock music. But where did that sound come from? That organ riff that defines the song. That was Al Kooper channeling gospel and soul music's keyboard tradition. Dylan's sneering, confrontational lyrics and raw delivery, that was straight from the blues tradition. He was doing what blues artists had been doing for generations, telling uncomfortable truths, holding up a mirror to society. The difference? When Bob Dylan did it, the mainstream called it poetry. When black blues and soul artists had been doing it for decades, it was just race records. Still, the track is undeniable. It opened doors for longer, more ambitious songs. Doors that Marvin Gaye and Isaac Hayes would walk straight through just a few years later. Simon and Garfunkel, The Sound of Silence. Hello darkness, my old friend. 5 words that launched a phenomenon. Here's the wild part. The Sound of Silence flopped when it first came out as a simple acoustic folk song.
In restless dreams I walked alone.
Then producer Tom Wilson made a gamble that changed everything. Without even telling Simon and Garfunkel, Wilson added drums, bass, and electric guitar to the track.
And touched the sound of silence.
He basically gave it a soul music rhythm section, that backbone that made Motown and Stax Records hit so hard. Suddenly, this introspective folk song had groove, had body, had movement. It shot to #1.
Because a vision softly.
This was the folk to rock transition everyone talks about, but it was really a folk to soul transition. Wilson understood what black music had always known.
Were stabbed by the flash of a neon light.
Rhythm is everything. The pocket is everything. The song became a 60s anthem, but its success proved once again that when you add that soul foundation, magic happens. 10. The Who, My Generation. October 1965, The Who drops My Generation, and it's basically a declaration of war. Hope I die before I get old. That line became a rallying cry for frustrated youth everywhere. But let's talk about the music itself. That distorted bass line, that aggressive, in-your-face rhythm section.
Names, you know him as The Who. Everybody says Who, and you say, you know, what's your name?
John Entwistle was doing things with bass that soul and funk musicians had been pioneering. James Jamison at Motown, Duck Dunn at Stax, taking the bass from the background and making it a lead instrument.
Bowling. Yeah, I could tell. Now we move right.
This was one of the first rock songs with a standout bass solo, and it came directly from the soul music tradition of letting every instrument have its moment to speak. Roger Daltrey's deliberate stutter gave the song personality, but that rhythm section gave it power, and that power came from the same place it always does: black musical innovation. 9. The Beach Boys, Good Vibrations. Brian Wilson called Good Vibrations his pocket symphony, and he wasn't playing. Over 6 months in 1966, Wilson recorded different sections of this song separately. Then stitched them together like a musical quilt. This modular recording technique was revolutionary, but it wasn't entirely new. Motown's studio genius had been using similar techniques, layering vocals and instruments to create that signature sound. What Wilson did was take that concept even further, creating this constantly shifting sonic landscape, and that ethereal floating sound from the electro-theremin. That was Wilson chasing the same spiritual, transcendent quality that gospel music had always carried. He was trying to capture feeling, vibration, emotion, the same thing soul music had been bottling up for years. The track cost $50,000, unheard of at the time, but it proved that pop music could be art, that it could take risks, just like Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye would prove a few years later. I-8, The Beatles, A Day in the Life, the final track on Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And what a finale! A Day in the Life represents the Beatles at their most experimental.
But I just had to look, having
John Lennon's section inspired by newspapers, Paul McCartney's from personal memories, brought together by George Martin's vision. That 40-piece orchestra creating those dramatic crescendos.
Woke up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb.
That final piano chord ringing out for over 40 seconds. That was psychedelic soul before psychedelic soul even had a name. Because just a few years later, Norman Whitfield would be doing similar experiments at Motown with the Temptations.
Drank a cup, and looking up, I noticed I was late.
The Isley Brothers would be stretching songs out, building orchestral arrangements, creating soundscapes. The Beatles showed that pop music could be adventurous and experimental. But soul artists would prove that it could be adventurous, experimental, and make you dance.
had just won the war.
7. Aretha Franklin, Respect. Now we're getting to the heart of it. Otis Redding wrote and recorded Respect First, a good song, a man asking his woman for respect when he comes home. Then Aretha Franklin walked into the studio in 1967 and completely transformed it. She flipped the entire meaning. Suddenly, it wasn't a request, it was a demand. A demand for equality, for dignity, for recognition of worth. She added those iconic "sock it to me" backing vocals. She spelled out R-E-S-P-E-C-T like she was teaching a masterclass. This wasn't just a cover, this was a reclamation. This was a black woman taking a song and making it speak truth to power in a way that resonated with both the women's movement and the civil rights movement. Otis Redding himself said Aretha took the song from him, and he was right. Because what Aretha understood was that respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you take. The Queen of Soul had arrived, and she wasn't playing. Our 6, The Doors, Light My Fire. The Doors hit #1 in 1967 with Light My Fire, and on the surface it seems like pure rock and roll. But listen closer to those jazz-inspired keyboard solos. That improvisational spirit running through the whole track. Ray Manzarek was channeling the same freedom that jazz and soul musicians had been expressing for decades. When The Doors appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show, producers told Jim Morrison to change the line, "Girl, we couldn't get much higher because of its drug reference." Morrison sang it anyway. The band got banned. That defiance, that refusal to be censored. Soul and R&B artists had been fighting that same battle forever. The difference, when The Doors did it, they became counterculture heroes. When black artists resisted censorship and pushed boundaries, they often just got labeled as troublemakers. Still, the song is undeniable. It proved that pop music could be lengthy, improvisational, and dangerous. Star 5, Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower. Bob Dylan wrote it. Jimi Hendrix made it immortal. When Hendrix got hold of All Along the Watchtower in 1968, he didn't just cover it, he completely reinvented it. He took Dylan's folk structure and electrified it, transforming it into this apocalyptic, tension-filled masterpiece. Those layered guitars, that restrained but powerful rhythm. That guitar solo that runs throughout like a preacher delivering a sermon. Pure genius. And here's the beautiful part. Dylan himself admitted that Hendrix's version was better than his own. That's respect. Hendrix was doing something that soul and funk musicians understood instinctively. that the guitar could talk, could cry, could testify. He made that guitar speak in tongues. He set a new standard for psychedelic rock. But he was really just bringing the full expression of black musical tradition to a mainstream audience that was finally ready to listen. Cha 4, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Fortunate Son. At the height of the Vietnam War, CCR dropped Fortunate Son, and it hit like a lightning bolt. John Fogerty's snarling vocals and that stripped-down blues rock sound delivered a message that couldn't be ignored. The rich send the poor to die in wars. It ain't me, I ain't no senator's son. That line cut straight to the bone. This was protest music in its purest form, carrying on a tradition that soul and R&B had been building. Music as social commentary, as resistance, as truth-telling. While Motown was often criticized for not being political enough, though they absolutely were, just more subtly, artists like Curtis Mayfield, Marvin Gaye, and Nina Simone were making their stances crystal clear. Fortunate Son joined that chorus. It proved that rock could carry the same weight of social consciousness that soul music had been carrying all along. For 3, Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, 8 minutes long, never released as a single, became one of the most requested songs in radio history. Stairway to Heaven defied every commercial rule in the book when it dropped in 1971. It builds slowly from acoustic folk to electric intensity. Dear people, can you hear the wind blow? And culminating in one of rock's most iconic guitar solos. But let's be honest about the foundation here. Led Zeppelin had a complicated relationship with black music. They borrowed heavily, sometimes without credit, from blues artists like Willie Dixon and Howlin' Wolf. That progressive structure, though, that idea of a song as a journey rather than just a 3-minute pop confection.
And when she gets there, she knows.
That came from the same place that soul music was heading. Isaac Hayes had just dropped Theme from Shaft, proving that extended cinematic soul compositions could dominate.
Yes, there are troopers again.
Stairway is a masterpiece, no question, but it stands on the shoulders of blues giants who often didn't get their proper credit or compensation. Jazz 2, The Rolling Stones, Gimme Shelter, dark, heavy, prophetic. Gimme Shelter opened Let It Bleed in 1969, and it captured a moment of complete cultural breakdown. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards channeled global chaos, war, and social unrest into this ominous driving track. But the real star? Mary Clayton. This black session singer came in and delivered one of the most powerful vocal performances in rock history. That line, "It's just a shot away." She sang it with such intensity that her voice cracked. And they kept it. Because that crack, that raw emotion, that was the truth of the moment. Mary Clayton elevated that song from great to transcendent. Her gospel-trained voice brought the weight, the urgency, the spiritual depth that made Gimme Shelter feel like a warning from the mountaintop. She embodied everything soul music represents: emotion as power, vulnerability as strength, truth as the ultimate goal. Jump Run 1, Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, 6 minutes long, no chorus, blends ballad, opera, and hard rock into something nobody had ever heard before. When Queen dropped Bohemian Rhapsody in 1975, every record executive said it would never work. Too long, too weird, too ambitious. Freddie Mercury didn't care. Over 180 vocal overdubs, multiple recording sessions across 3 weeks. A structure that made absolutely no commercial sense. And it became one of the biggest hits of all time. Mercury, born Farrokh Bulsara, a British Indian Parsi, understood what artists like Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye understood. Music doesn't have to fit in a box. It can be operatic and funky, delicate and explosive, structured and free. That guitar solo from Brian May, those dramatic tonal shifts, that lyrical ambiguity, it all came together into something that proved popular. Music could be truly ambitious. Bohemian Rhapsody pioneered the modern music video format and showed that audiences were ready for complexity. For artistry, for vision. It was a testament to what happens when you refuse to compromise your artistic vision, a lesson that soul music had been teaching all along.
I've got to go.